Hey everyone, good morning. Thank you for joining us today. This is a quick library tutorial to support site analysis. My name is Vanessa Viola. I am an architecture librarian based on Long Island, and I'm here with my colleague Sebastian Marion, senior librarian based on the Manhattan campus. I hope you all know a little bit about us by now. But we are here to help, and we love working with maps and data and architecture. So I have two tools here that I'm going to drop in the chat as folks join. One is a Miro that's totally open and editable. So with a series of links and tools with information about Central Park. I understand you're all on the later end of site analysis research, but these are tools that can actually zoom out to a national scale, some of them even international. So as much as they're contextual information about Central Park, we also want you to practice using these contextual tools about any of your sites in the future. A big key here is open data. So these are all, and these digital collections, these all come from institutions that for a long time have taken care of New York City, have taken care of Central Park. So they have a very deep knowledge of this location. Okay, so I'm going to drop this in the chat one more time as folks join. So we're just going to talk about these tools for about 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. And so feel free to jump in the board, use it as you need, and follow up with questions. Again, this is meant to be a very collaborative, low stakes environment. You can also tag myself or Sebastian in the document itself. And then we can answer your question there, or if you want to email us, that's a very easy way to get to us too. So in the board here in front of us, we have, let's see if I can zoom. My Zoom is a little finicky when I plug back into my desktop. Okay, so this board is broken up into tools that include maps and web pages of history and graphs about Central Park. So they're broken up by history, topography, biodiversity, general environment, thresholds and edges, and some suggestions also about programs. So looking at all Central Park from those perspectives. So moving in here to history. Oh my gosh, it's like a Luddite. I'm going over to my Zoom bar. I know there's a shortcut. Okay, so Central Park Conservancy, those are the folks that actually take care of the park. They have a big hand in it, and there's historical photos. They have a good annotation, narration about the park. And then this one in particular, Now and Then, is one of my favorites. And over here, Now and Then, this is a series of aerial photos all layered together within one map. And you can look at and see how the park has changed. So right now we're comparing and contrasting 1922 with 2022 aerial imagery. And you can move throughout the park, you can move throughout the whole city and really see how it's changed. You can see how much been built into the fields. All right. So moving back over, so that's one of my favorites for history. The New York City planning map, I'm not going to actually open this just now because there really is just so much in here. But I think it's noted in your syllabus as a tool called oasis.net. And this is oasis.net++. There's just so many layers, and it's actually run by New York City Planning Department. So even though it's called it's the zoning map primarily, there's so many layers of information that are influenced by zoning and zoning. So this is always a great tool to revisit for any work in and around New York City. Let me move over to topography. So topography, I know you all are like probably tired of looking at the vectors of topography at this point. But one tool I wanted to highlight here, the National Map Viewer, again, national, so it's anywhere in the United States as well, this tool has let me move you guys over here, shows you the topography grid. So in elevation, you can essentially draw a polyline across the map, and now we're looking at the elevation. So it's like, when you're looking at the topography and you said, okay, 130, 120 feet, okay, 10 feet elevation change. But then when you look at it in here, it's really just another way to say like, oh, well, look at how quickly this drops off as it gets to the street. It's not always as evident. So it's another, and this is something you can export, move into your presentations. So it's really handy another way to look at the elevation of the city. So that's their topography. There's also some historical topography maps here. Another of my favorites is in this section is biodiversity. So here we look at species, changes in conservation, the New York City tree map. We can look at gaps, species in in and around Central Park. So here I've pulled up very basic from the New York City parks. This is their wildlife viewer. So they actually go through and look at which species move through the park over the year. And then you can see the highlights down below. This is a migratory hotspot. So you'll see a lot of biodiversity that's unique to places in Central Park that are found no place else in New York State. It has to do with the location along migratory routes, the fact that it's really a dark spot in the large city. So really a unique place to look into. And last but not least, I'm going to go to this section about the environment, actually second to last. So here from the New York City Planning Department, they also have a flood map. You can look at these dashboards about air quality, instances of illness or changes in illness. You can also look at climate data. And you can also look at the species within the tree map. This actually is a survey that happens where they examine every tree in Central Park and in the streets to give you a sense. Another really in-depth tool I wanted you to see within the consideration of threshold and movement, that is the New York City streets map. So at first you look at this and you say like, okay, well, this looks a lot like the zoning map. But in reality, this map gives you all the dimensional information about all of the routes within the city. It will also tell you if there are any changes to the route in the city. And so you can get very detailed information about a site. Once you are looking at your specific site within Central Park, it will be interesting for you to look at the perimeter and how this may have changed. And you can see the changes all the way back from 1903 up to the present day. Okay. So that is, and then last but not least, I have a section here about upcoming events and concerts in Central Park. Central Park is probably one of the ultimate flex spaces, right? I mean, there's so much open space. There's so much natural space that can be used for people in so many different ways. So if you look at a larger scale and you look at the events that are happening in the park, it's one way to get a sense of how the program is happening in the park. And I also included here squirrel tails. So this is a project that has come from a giant survey about literally about squirrel behavior in the park. Why I think it's interesting is that it actually can give you a very personal view of the people in and around the park. So, it's the kind of thing, if you have a little extra minute, it's very amusing. It's really a New York City minute to see how people describe the squirrels and describe their environment. So it's another interesting way to look at program. So that being said, if you have questions, I'm going to drop this in the chat. You can message me in the chat if you want everyone to see. You can tag us. And I also want to point us to the research guide. Let me zoom out a little bit. Over here, you can. Oh, Lakshmi, did you have a question? No. Okay. Going to move us over to the research guide, and Sebastian is going to talk a little bit about this. Sebastian, I don't know if I can give you driving abilities. Let me see.
Well, they just sent a request.
Oh, great. I got you. I got you.
Can facilitate. If you can't, then I can just.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so
I'll
then
stop
I
my
suppose my sharing is appropriate. Okay. So you should now in Manhattan, within the architecture stack range, you will see posted at the end of the shelf. We call it shelf cap, but you'll see that there's a posting for the Central Park Research Guide, and there's a QR code. So these are mainly the books and monographs that we have. So I think there are a couple of things that are useful under the bibliographic. Obviously, the general park history. Now you will see call numbers in instances where there are physical prints. You're required to actually touch and open and read. In some cases, like here, we have ebooks, so you have versions of the two. So general park history is going to be valuable for you. Here, another one that I like is natural history. If you have an interest in understanding, how it's Manhattan and Central Park have evolved over time, I think that's exciting. If I go back up here through park plans and studies, then you have major studies and plans for landscape areas. So I think that's quite interesting. And then you have a few site planning. So again, these are the books and monographs that we have. And then under illustrative material. Now, what I like about illustrative material, we've pulled out a few maps that we think may provide some value kind of historically that are useful. This is from 1780. But in addition, we have these collections from, say, the New York Public Digital Collection. And if you click on that, and then, I guess I can show you quick, I suppose. So sometimes, in the United States, we historically share and have enormous access to data. So it's wonderful through these, public information sets that you could go to a public library and that you can really have a sense. Let me see if there's something kind of more appealing here within the Central Park range. So these are from the New York Public Library. And as you know, at 42nd and 5th, I'm going to scroll down and see if I could actually find something that looks appealing. This looks like from a block level. If you go to New York Public Library, 42nd and 5th, they have a map division with map librarians. Here, their Central Park map collections are online. In addition, maybe this is what I wanted to look at, is the maps and atlases. You will find some of this historical content online. So some students within the library will come in and they'll ask to look at for example, the 1969 plan for the city of New York. And if you visit the links that are within the guide, that is digitized and shared there. So you can, in addition to looking at the physical stuff at 42nd and 5th, you can click and look online. So I think from the perspective of the monographs that we have here, the guide's going to provide you with a very quick understanding of some of the physical print books in the ebook. The other thing I would say with respect to people that are doing site visits is that we have 360 cameras, we have video cameras, we have DSLRs, um, we have I know you could do this on your phone, but it's the quality is not going to be as good. But we have a bi-directional, omnidirectional voice recorder. So if you wanted to check out some of these things, they're not on the guide, but I think it's good for you to know about them. You could visit us in the library and ask for them. So it's not, uncommon for people to say, um, can I use your Osmo camera? Can I use your Instax camera? Can I check out your DSLR with the tripod? Can I check out your microphone? So it's just good to know that these things are there. Yeah, that's it for the guide, and I suppose maybe the two of it in knowing what you're struggling with, and